enterprise companies here in Germany giving some things, and you only have now a small portion of that, because I speak, if I do a workshop 2 days, only about OneDrive, so it's a little bit more. So I have to say thank you to the sponsors, because nobody knows it's so much work to have done this, and therefore we have to say thank you to all the sponsors. They give it something that makes it a little bit easier for the thing. So I will talk about my handbag, and I have one here. I have to show you, sorry. So in the camera, that's my small handbag, and you see it's nothing in there. That means, okay, we have to try it a little bit different. What's inside? I have to have so many slides in there, and therefore we have to look what's coming up. So the first one is I speak about, and that's my data, who I am. I'm Hans Brender since 8 years. So that's another slide. Sometimes I forgot to update the slides there. It's so many things I have to do. And you see I am coming with email. You can connect me with Instagram or go to Twitter or whatever you want. We will have it later on. And I also give the slides to the community. Therefore, it's not thing if you don't read anything. So the agenda is the cloud in my handbag. It's a little bit, we talk about sync. So there are so many think parts that the people, and I know that from several things around the globe, I do not understand OneDrive. Therefore, we talk about that, a little bit of versioning, a bit of OneDrive files on demand. People also don't understand that. Then some new things, request files, what that? And then the absolute new one from last week, add to OneDrive, and some special things. And for the admins also, sync admin report that we have. So that's for the next 45 minutes I have there. And normally you can have it OneDrive in 6 steps. First, you navigate to Office 365, you sign in, you click on OneDrive, then you click on the sync button, and then yes, yes, no, yes, in that order, and it's done. So no, it's not so easy. You have to understand. First, I want to talk about OneDrive is not a network drive. So you forgot the drives with STUV, any letter you have. No, it's not the same. It's different. It's a sync client. That means it's an asynchronous sync client. So it's not a shared drive. It's not a simple storage location in the cloud. A simple storage location for the pre-sessions, we have seen that that's not a thing if you go to blob storage or something else, or go to Dropbox or something. No, that's not the same. It's not just fast as a network drive, because you have to go to the cloud, and that means asynchronous communication. And that is a little bit different to the stuff. And we have to look for what's happened if we see that you see it's suitable for all data of types. That means, okay, if you have a document or if you have a text file or something else, nothing else, you can have all data types. It's not to say, okay, we should not do that. That's an exception. We can do that running also. It's not like Dropbox or any cluster cloud storage, because it's integrated in the file system in Windows or in a Mac, and it's also integrated completely story in Office. So yes, it's a little bit different. So OneDrive is sometimes the offline capability in not only Windows. You can have it later on. I will show you on my iPhone that you have the data also there. And that means you have it offline. You can, if you have no connection to the internet, also connect and work with your files. It contains metadata like history, although in your normal Windows environment. It's a brand. Nobody knows, hey, it's OneDrive, OneDrive Personal or OneDrive for Business, so many things. OneDrive is a brand for the Microsoft Purple. They speak only about OneDrive, but most of them, they mean OneDrive for Business. And if you see it on your machine and go to OneDrive for Business, then let's say, okay, you see it as OneDrive. You see it later on. It's a sync technology. They made it 6 years available, and there are so possibilities. That's very interesting what happened inside. And it's OneDrive for Business and or OneDrive Personal. You can have both, but there are some differences. And it's a basis, the standard for collaboration. Without, in Microsoft terms, without collaboration, without OneDrive, you cannot collaborate. So seeing some symbols you have on your machine, you see it in the midst, That's a Groove client. That's the old. If you have a SharePoint on premises, you have to use that. If you have a SharePoint on premises before 29, you have to do that. On the right side, you see the next generation Sync client in a white thing, not the blue thing, but inside the Explorer, you have it also in blue. Therefore, I have it done there. So there are several ways to synchronize the stuff. Means OneDrive Personal, you can sync with OneDrive for Business. You have a possibility to share it with me from other persons and sync the data also on your machine. We can have all stuff in one edge to OneDrive. We have several document libraries. Wherever you are a member in your SharePoint, you can synchronize the data. And you can also have more than one tenant, and therefore you have to synchronize with more than one, up to 9. 1 personal and up to 9 personal synchronization to other tenants. And in the higher area, you also have the possibility to business sync. So I want to show you a little bit what's connection. You see here in the mid, that's the cloud, that is the Exchange, and there's SharePoint, and there's some other stuff, but only these are interesting for us. And we see also on the left side, the client, that means Outlook as a native program. And also you see the Windows, you have Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And on the right side, I have all those stuff. That means a browser. You have several things like iOS or Android for the smartphones. You have Teams. Yes, and can all synchronize with the stuff. You can have it in Outlook and have to say, no, I do not want to attach a document. I will save it in my SharePoint, in a document library, or in a OneDrive for Business, or also in OneDrive Personal, and I share this document, the link only to other persons. Because then the data are still there. If you send it to more than one people, you only have one version and you do have to do nothing because they can work with them. That's the same with Outlook on the web. You have the same possibilities in Outlook on the web. And it's the same is although that your OneDrive for Business, your small portion, or the document libraries you can do all sync to the Windows 10 inside Explorer. The Explorer inside Windows or the File Finder inside Mac have the possibility to show you all the latest version of a file. So we have to look for that later on. But also it's possible to have another tenant, as I mentioned before. And that means, yes, with 2 possibilities, with 1 tenant and also the second tenant. You have all double this, up to 9. And this is a possibility, and the king discipline for synchronization is a SharePoint online as a document library, as a business to business. And that means, yes, during the pandemic, you are a hospital. Let's say we are the hospital, and we have to say, okay, now we have other labs outside our communication. They are also on Office 365, and I invite them in our Active Directory to PowerShell and give them the possibility that they can also sync some data from their document library in this lab to our library here inside. And we have sync all this in Windows 10. That's possible for other labs also. Labs, whatever you want, people have to be, you have to read a little bit of documentation, 270 pages of PDF, because it's a little bit tricky, because there is a trust. These people only has to do it and have the credential for this tenant and not for another one if they want to do that. We have control these people that are working here. Therefore, that's business to business. But on the other side, you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can work with all this stuff. Save it to your single machine or other machines, synchronize it to a document library, synchronize to your OneDrive for Business or also in OneDrive Personal. It's all possible. That means the integration is here there. Therefore, I have to make so many points and connections you will have. And although this one, that's a little bit complicated because in each tenant, in your Office 365 environment, you have OneDrive for Business. I have a OneDrive for Business. Other people in my environment also have a OneDrive for Business. You are the administrator. That's a site collection inside the SharePoint Online. That means you have one. Automatically means you have to spend the data there. But other people have to say, okay, I want also give you some data. You share the data with me. And if it's a folder, you can share the data. And inside Windows 10, I have also the possibility to get some data only what this person of OneDrive for Business have synchronized it with me. So that's the thing we can also have in other stuff. With in iOS. iOS has the possibility to have all the data. That's a little bit different because it's not a full two-size synchronization. If you go inside the app is made by Microsoft for Android and iOS. That's a different one. But you have to look what's in there, and you connect it to the different document libraries or OneDrive for Business. Because normally you have connection, but if you have long data, long files, you should be aware of that you need a little bit more speed. But anyway, it's Android or it's iOS. So you have all the data. Your iPad has also iOS, and you can have also the app there and have connection to them. And then we have another thing. In Teams, we have a connection also to OneDrive for Business and also the document library. Means Teams save all files inside SharePoint Online. So all this stuff is come together and gives you the possibility to sync everything what you want. But there are some possibilities we have to look for that. Not all of the stuff can be synchronized. Means, yes, 300,000 files the client engine can handle only. So therefore, it looks a little bit different. And therefore, Microsoft established, I think, the second generation of syncing last week. It's the same engine, but they put it together and it will re-roll out now. So that's the thing, and we have to look about the storage, what's in there. Yeah, so we have a SharePoint Online, we have some document library, as I mentioned before. If you have some users, have 200 users, you have 200 document library for OneDrive for Business users. I only made here 2, but also from Teams, you have several document libraries. That's the same. But now you have to look what expands your small handbag to all these data here, because it's possible if you have Windows 10 since version 1709, you see all these data there. That means, yes, you have access to a lot of data, and you have, if you have only 256 gigabyte storage, nothing. You can have some petabytes of data. What does it mean? You have to look. So normally we have some free storage for SharePoint Online, and we have some free storage for each user. In an E3 environment for Office 365, you have 1 up to 5 terabyte for each user. That's among. That has nothing to do, because I have now 5 terabyte devices and can store all these stuff here. I can sell it, but we have to look for that. What's the thing? It's not like Dropbox and Box, I have to say. Let's say we look for our SharePoint house that I mentioned. That's a SharePoint house. You see here, that's the administrator. I call it the facility manager. You can go up and down and handle all the stuff. And we have here some document libraries. I call it rooms. So in the smallest version of Office 365 for a family, we have now 5 possibilities. That means, okay, father, mother, son, the daughter, and the dog or your refrigerator, whatever you have in the 5th special. That means, yes, they have also here. And therefore, there are some rooms or document libraries. And in the corner, in the roof, we have OneDrive for Business for each user in our environment. So the administrator can also here go up and down and handle this stuff, but you are the administrator for your OneDrive for Business and can take in your environment whatever you want. There we also have a document library. Means, I call it now here marketing, that means you can have several things. Put some in, that's the owner. We have the owner here, that's a special key, and the other persons who are there, that's the members. So all people should be done here, and not only in OneDrive for Business. People has to recognize and share several information with other people and have 20 people on there, and we collect and collaborate. The problem is, if this person with his OneDrive for Business is gone, the information is gone also, because the license is no longer established and you have to do it a little bit for. So therefore, my recommendation is only 3 to 4 people share with the data, do and handle it. And if the idea is gone, we have to do it a little bit different and have to say, now we can move the data from OneDrive for Business to a SharePoint library. That's a better thing. So on the other hand, we have to say not only the free storage is very important, because they make it more and more, we have to look for version history. And version history, you see it on several ways. You see it in the web browser. So here is a thing that's my only version history I have mentioned with 500 different versions of an Excel sheet. So that's a normal thing you can. If you rename a file, it's the same and gives you a new version. So you can go back until whatever you want, you can use it. That's a SharePoint. Also in a file explorer, you can set it here and then go back and say version history, and then it gives you the same information if you are not on SharePoint, because you are now on your machine, and it gives you the information, how many versions, and you can download and make a difference and so on. That's a possibility, because the Windows Explorer is not a 3D model. It only has 2 dimensions. Therefore, we need the 3rd dimension, the version history. And I think there will come something true in the future, because Microsoft is not at the end this time. So in your OneDrive client, if you click in the cloud symbol in the notification area, you see also, hey, that's all the files I'm working in that. Click on the 3 dots, and then you have also the possibility to see if you online or go to version history. And you can that also in an application. Here you have an Excel sheet, and you also have to say, clicking on the name of that, it shows you the name, and therefore you can also have another menu point and say, okay, I want to show the version history, and it comes up the version history. That's a file I have with 500 versions. So therefore you see that's my white, that's the numbers I not have smoked anymore, that's a days 200, that's an old one. You see it's from April I made this screenshot, and that's some additional data. That's my insurance, where I have to look for the hard things and so on. And each day I save it, and therefore I get a new information. Means you have, this is your last version on the Explorer. But inside your OneDrive for Business or in your SharePoint library, you see old versions. So you have to see, hey, up to 500 for each. You don't have to mention about that. That are there, they will be made automatically, and that's okay. So we can compress that, but it's a problem. You need at least Windows files on demand that comes with Windows 10, 1709, and although storage sense settings come with 1809. So normally if you sync some data in the old days, you see, hey, they're syncing a lot of stuff because all the data completely will be there, and then it's sync, and then it's normal stuff what you work on it. Nowadays, we have files on demand that not all the data will be there. And I show you in a few seconds that will come up. That's not only in Windows, you also have it on Mac OS. So that is the thing, simplified NTFS. So that changed NTFS in Windows 10 1709. And you have to look, that's simplified. Absolutely simplified. You have a name of a file. You have a type of a file. If it's a doc, that's only numbers. You have an area where you have to store a mini picture, only a mini picture, not a big picture, but a mini picture. You can store it. We have a file with attributes. I make some new attributes to steer the things. And then you have a creation date, modification date, and all the stuff. But for you, it's only interesting you have a pointer at the beginning to the real content of this document. So looking for that, it's an easy part. If you have a content, and then the pointer goes to the next point and pointer with the complete document. If you have a 1 megabyte document, okay, there are several documents, several pointers. If you have a big, let's say PowerPoint, it also has several pointers. But that means if it's there, you have in your Explorer this one, local available and always available. So local available can be changed automatically if your administrators will clean up your PC. That's possible with storage sense possibilities, group policies. And if you do not want that you have it, they'll do it here. But look, if you say, I want to speed up, and normally I want to not have the data, because this data means in this one, it's on this machine, and it's also on this machine and in the cloud. And if I say I want to make space available, I say, okay, do that, click on that, make space available, kit the content. And then you find this symbol that means cloud only. It's only in the cloud. If you click on it, it will be downloaded again and comes back to that. But this is, the content is no longer available. This is free on your thing. And if you have all of these files, petabytes of data on your small hard disk in my handbag, that means, yes, you have it there because you only have the data there and you need one click to have the data, but not all at once. That's impossible. It takes 0 bytes on your hard disk. It's only in the file allocation table. You see that, that's a normal thing. You see it later live in the demo. So that means it's OneDrive for Business, and you see all this stuff. There are more than of these possible, OneDrive Personal, and so on. That's a possibility. You can have that, absolutely. And you see here the different icons. Done. So we see cloud only, local available, always available. If you see this icon, it's syncing. Sometimes people say to me, hey, it's syncing and syncing and syncing, never ends syncing. Yes, there's a reset command. You can have to, on my blog, take it in the search window and look for reset. Then you got the things what you have to do, because the client engine and the storage is in a little database. And if their database is out of order with the synchronization of the different storage in the cloud, they always show you syncing. So there are several things what can do, but it's not normally. Therefore, you can have a reset command and then will gone, and then as a syncing command gone until the next time it will comes up. There are the new attributes. We don't talk about that. But also you have to say, hey, we got a new Explorer icon. And that's this one. This icon will cursor and makes it possible for the administrators to give you some choices to say, okay, we want to not have data synchronized to the cloud. Let us look what's going on. And that means, okay, only for new files is the machine policy will work only on new files and not on Office files, because it's a different. Office is do it on a different way. Yeah? But if you say, okay, star, that's a wildcard implementation, star point PST means no PST file will be handled. Or if you say, okay, star sales star point txt means any file with a txt extension where the name sales is coming up, then it will not synchronize. So you see that although here and all the numbers. That is now rolling out. They have no problem with that. And yeah, it could be. You can have an upload to say, okay, you will do an upload from a sales command like here. You open it in the web browser and say, okay, I do it manually in a sales browser, and then it's sync back and the synchronization is also done. Normally you don't see this stuff, but if you have it here, the administrators have implemented, you can implement it for your own, and I will show it later on. Means there are several group policies. Sorry, that's in German. It's in the group policy. And that means although you have it here, what will sync and why not. That means DOCX or XLSX, that's our Office files, they will always sync. And you have it here in other versions. You have to look for the files, what's in there. That means if a program gives you always, let's say all 5 minutes, make this program a text file and say, this is text X, 12, 13, 14, and so on. You can have all this numbering and bring it. There will not going and there are not synced. Therefore, it's okay. That's the new thing we will have. You see it here now. It's always in there. I have it here and I have this excluded, then will not located and will not going. This fursuit, that's a document that will always, it's because it's an Office file. So I take it with different things we have to look for. And therefore, although you see it in your cloud symbol, if you open it, that there is. It's a machine policy. It works everywhere. So coming to the next, I have to speed up a little bit. Sorry, because 45 minutes is not so much about the function request files. Normally, we can say to other person externally, hey, I want to have you some data there. But sometimes people and also the administrator say, no, no, we don't want that. We want you to have this functionality that's a request files. There are three parts: the invitation, a receiver part, and a notification. And we'll show you what's happened. I make this in my OneDrive and have to say, okay, here is a collection, is a folder that I requested. I select this one, and then you have the possibility here, request the files. I do that, give it a name, what I want to say to the person on the other side, and that means, okay, that's Mr. OneDrive spot. I want to have some pictures. So that's the big one. You see it later. And then I click next, and I have to say, okay, that's a copy. You can copy the link. But although you can also have, okay, have the persons, when I want to give them the invites there. And I put it here, one name, that's Franz Test. That's a test owner outside the organization. And I put also a message there, please upload the pictures. Then I say to send. You can have more than one, but you need that they are going as an anonymous link outside to these persons. Okay, let's go ahead. Clicking on that, the file was sent. Nothing more to do. Now we change it to Franz Test. I change it there, and Franz Test receives a message. I'm saying, okay, I sent you a request. Give us some to the OneDrive spot message. Please upload the pictures. That's the thing that I got. And this person, Franz Test, click on upload the files. And they are saying, okay, select the files. I can select some files. I have it done. These files have numbers. Why? Because other persons may have the same name. Therefore, they count it. And therefore, you need the name. That's not a thing you have to do. You have to do a name. Otherwise, you see the star. Otherwise, there is inside the number, because we want to know, Hans Brender, that gives the files, I want to know where it's come from. If I have only one person, that's okay. If you have more persons, they can have the same name, and therefore they have it made. Upload the stuff and done. So I have done these things, uploaded is done. Changing back, going to Hans. Hans got a notification in his mail system. He says, okay, new files are uploaded. And you see, Franz Test, that's a bot, and that's the real name, picture 199.1.png. It takes a number although in there, and you know exactly what you want. And I can say, click on that. And otherwise, if I have another person, Sabrina, it takes it, although that's the 8.png, that's a file, but it comes from Sabrina with the other name for Sue. So you see that. On the other hand, if you have an error, if you want to upload something. So I tried it in the old days where we have only 15 gigs of file length. You know, last year, Microsoft says, okay, you will have not 50, no, 100 gig for one file. It takes, although with me, I have a good connection, but it takes a little bit time. And I have to check that. And I try it with this version. And then I create a small file. Yes, I only create this file, and the command line means I create a 20 gig TXT. It's only the length. It's nothing in there. But I created it, and I tried it in the early days, and then this function won't have work because 100 gig was not available. The limit was 15 gig, therefore I have an error. Therefore, nowadays, I can have upload these files because now we have 100 gig. So that's the thing. It works only in OneDrive for Business. You must be able to share to external users, anonym, and that means here, if you got, and if this, you are not able because it's out, grayed out, you are not able, administrators has said, no, you have to do it not, and therefore you cannot use that. That must be looking here in green, then you can do that. Here it's grayed out means no, you cannot have it. You don't have to see it. It's very easy, and take the time also for request times. How long does it work? Only the administrators can say 90 days for the external thing, and then this request files is automatically done there. You can change that, but it's a little bit difficult, and normally they say, we want to make it easy. And time for access is for external, for all external users. So now this is a preparation. This means, okay, we have it now since last week, and it's a it's a new one, add to OneDrive. Microsoft talk, it's a brand, add to OneDrive. You know, do not find a command add to OneDrive. You have find commands add shortcut to my files. Oh, that's a different. If you need add to OneDrive, that's a brand. And that's something add to OneDrive. Or if you want to remove it, remove shortcut from my files. You see, that's a different one. Absolutely. But to take it, make it easier, they only take it and talk about OneDrive. So the theoretical part, I'm user A, and I want to do an in organization. The first thing you have to know, it's only internal, not with external. External, Microsoft always talk about cross-tenant. Therefore, it's not available for cross-tenant. It's only in our environment. So therefore, I have to say, okay, a little bit different. We work for here, there's our two users, there's a user A, and you see later on, there's a user B. My synchronization, there I have several folders, and I want to have the folder A2 only give it to another user for my OneDrive. So here's user B of the organization. He has B1, B2, and so on. And now you see he has a folder A2. I share it, the information. Share the information of A2. Nothing more. So now user B sees that if he goes in there and see, hey, I have it in there, which shared with me, and I can click add a shortcut to my files, and then this folder is synchronizing automatically on all your devices you have. You know, you can have more than one device. In the old days, you have only one. And that means in the only one machine, and that will synchronize. If you have a second machine, you have to do it again and again. And if you delete something inside, delete and make the link upload, that's not no longer synchronized. It's only on this machine. And you have to delete the folders, although on each part. Nowadays, it's okay. It will come as a shortcut, and that means it's there. And it's synced to all devices you are handling with that, including this one with the phones. The phones are also in there. Okay, and we have a new symbol in the OneDrive files. You have in the web the folders and files, you see that, and you see the folders also in Windows Explorer, in Mac, in the file finder, and also in the Windows machine. Yeah. You may rename this name. We will do it later on. And then you see it's only a rename on your thing. Think about if you want to sync from Teams, the first folder is always, it's not in my files, but the first folder is always has a name general. And people say to me, hey, you cannot have sync both because it's the same name. You can do that because it's only a shortcut, and you can rename the shortcut, and it will also establish on all your machines automatically, but only on your machine, not from the source, wherever the source is. So that's there. You may read this, and if you remove, all files also will be removed. That's a good thing. We don't have to forget. The users do not know that. That's user adoption perfectly adopted by Microsoft. So look for the next thing. I also say not only for user A, I also have a document library with several folders. I'm a member of the document library, but this user B is not a member of this document library. And I want to share only this folder, not the complete library. Therefore, I have to say, okay, come on, and I will do that. We want to have only a small portion, that this guy can work with these files, sync on this machine, and after he's done all this stuff, he says, okay, remove, and it's gone. It's still there, but we do not have to take user B as a member there. Okay, the same thing what I have done before. User A, user B see this in OneDrive shared with me, and then he says, okay, I add shortcut to my files, and so on, and it will be done. So you see that here, and I will show you what's in real. Therefore, I have to do it in a second part, means I need my files there. And you see here, I'm in a document, means, let me look for that. That's here. You have here several documents, shared libraries, and you see here, oh, that's a new symbol. I will show it all later on. That means, okay, I have this one. You find this is coming out from the document folder, and I want to have it here from this. And it says, okay, I can also have the complete library here because there is no data there and say add shortcut to my OneDrive. And you see, go to the channel conversation, it's done and it's here. Means going back to my OneDrive, see there, you have it here, although that we see information or general. Hey, from this lab info. That means that's inside from a team folder and I have shared it with here. And I can change it here, but I will show you it also again here. That's my OneDrive. That's a complete stuff. Here has a member of, there's a second one, the second domain I have implemented. And here I have more personal. I am allowed and can do stuff. And I see it also here and you find the information here with general. And you can say, okay, clicking on that, you see that it was only this folder, it's synced, and it's always files on demand. It's recommended that you do that. And then I say, okay, I want to rename stuff. And I can say, okay, for the demo, whoops, for the demo general. So now you see it has changed. It's wrong, but anyway, the thing is the same. The same is although the same. If you look inside here, it changed it also. If we make a refresh, then we see the same information here. It's not longer general, so it says it, and it's for this with the arrow here, the general. That's the thing you can have to remove this stuff. But now I want to show it that although I have not prepared, I have to done it with my lonely screen. I will show you. It takes a second.
And we have 9 minutes left.
Huh? Yeah, thank you. Lonely screen, it will comes up and you see that, and I go there, in there. And now I have my things. I go to OneDrive and you see this stuff and I have to look for all that. Normally you can see with the folder, the icons has been changed and we have it for this command here. And I want to show you that you see, okay, that is a remove statement. If I remove it from my smartphone, click it on here, it will be removed. And it will be removed although in this stuff. Let me look, we have a wait, that's gone. And the files are gone because nothing happened there. It works perfectly. So 10 minutes. 10 minutes means we have to look for the flow, for the files again. I have to look for my machine because it's too big here. So look for that. I give it to you that you see it if you don't have the function. Functions will be rolled out slowly in waves. Therefore, it could be that you do not have the function. So there is a new symbol that we have. With this symbol means, yes, that add shortcut to my files or add to OneDrive. And here you have the same with from an iPhone. And sometimes you do not have, if you have a function or have synced other stuff in the old way, and you will do it new, you have to look for that. That's not possible, then you got an error. So on my side, I have a big article and have to say, okay, that works when you do that and that. So only for people in your organization, any folder from OneDrive, any folder from any SharePoint library and all this stuff. There is a document also that you have to say, we can disable this function with a PowerShell command. And then you see disable add shortcuts to OneDrive, and then it will be laid and all the on. Some kinds of functions we will have in Q1 2021, the Sync admin report. You can have several things. I only want to show several things. That means, okay, all your files as a supporter can now handle, and we see some red. These red stuff here means I click on it. That means this machine name with the corresponding user that's there, I can call him and say, you have 2 errors on this machine. So that will come next year in the early beginning, and therefore we have to use that. So recommendations, that's the new stuff that we can have. Several new things you have to look for. It's very interesting to work with them, and you need them if you want to handle it and work outside with the Windows Explorer and so on, and not only the machines. In Windows, in Teams, we will all some things, but they are delayed till January or February. Nobody knows why. The OneDrive is not well implemented this time. So I recommend to read some blog posts or hear some podcast. I give here the links also there. I'm writing a lot of articles in 2 languages, in German and in English too. And that means, yes, you can have this stuff done. Take the camera also for the file. I have also make the file available. After the session, you have the files if you want it. So that's also a thing. You can also have look for the OneDrive. I want to show for the roadmap. The roadmap will also, if you save and filter it to OneDrive, means, okay, all this stuff is done, but recommend the date is not correct anymore. Microsoft has stopped during the pandemic so many things that they have delays on all functions. Therefore, a good thing is to see, hey, are they working on it? Yes, but the function is not in October. They have it now to January or something else like here. And last, not last, I have now 50, 35. Yes, we can do it. I bought a bot, and the bot will come in Teams. And I will show it a little bit, a mini functionality to give you the possibility to see that. That means I have here also a team side, and you see here is a bot running. This is Mr. OneDrive Start, and we can ask him all about OneDrive, nothing else. I can ask him, let's say, what's the difference between OneDrive and OneDrive for Business? I haven't read it not correctly, but you use artificial intelligence to look for the best answer. And you see here, okay, difference between OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. And you click on it, you have the same thing that I have done and showed you in the session before, but there are so many information there. And you can have also say, okay, only one word, security. And all things comes up, and you see the security function. You say, hey, what's data encryption? And you find here something that's a follow-up question with all this stuff, what's happened with the security here, for example, what for NUCs and once encryption storage is with this stuff. That's also some links in there, means I directly can show a video. You do not have to search externally. He knows a lot of stuff. 720 questions I have built, comes to 150 answers, but that's artificial intelligence, and he know a little bit about report. Let's look for the report. If I give him a report, you see, this is not available right now. I showed it in the early days, but the thing is, you can see it right now inside. It comes in January in Microsoft, but the bot right now knows it. We are now trending it to put it in the team store, but it takes a little bit because they have a little bit problems. We have to make some change in here about, but I want to show it there. And that means I'm coming to the end, and I will show you the slide again. So here you can scan for my slides. If you take that with your camera or put it in your browser, that's also means, okay, you have this stuff and it's in there, and then you can have all them people. Means you have this stuff. I have only sometimes a little bit about question if we have one.
Yes, we have a couple of questions. The first question is regarding, does OneDrive has any sync app for Linux?
No. The answer is no. Absolutely no. There is no chance this time. So I know that is also, but they have no effort done, because it's only they make some efforts and say, yes, we can handle it in the Hyper-V and so on. There is a possibility that you can run Linux systems, but that's just too small that they have to implement it, because it takes some time, and they have only 100 people in Redmond to handle all this stuff, and they have so much to do. It's not the end. No.
Okay. Is there a size limit on the files that can be uploaded?
100 gig. Okay. You have to know it's different. If you took it in OneDrive personal, 15 gig. OneDrive for business and all document libraries, 100 gig.
Okay, where are the files stored? Is it possible to control where these files end you getting saved?
No, you don't see the consumer. It's only that you have announced it. If you're in a document library and you gave it a share, you have to know which version. Sharing is a little bit complicated. It looks so easy, but I have 100 slides. I can only talk about sharing 2 or 3 hours. It's a little bit complicated. If you do and share it anonymously, other persons, if you receive my file, you can give it to another person. They have all the access. We don't see that. There is no chance to see it. Therefore, anonymous link have a possibility with a timestamp means, okay, I will give you the link, but only for 10 days. If you don't have worked within the 10 days, okay, the link will close automatically. That's a different. We can also have naming function. If I give it to Jesse examly and drag it there, that means only he can open it. And if he do not have a Microsoft account, he has to be a one-time password also in there that he can work with it. But he has no timestamp. So that's a different about all this stuff. If internally it doesn't make interest because the people want to collaborate and not how long. And listen, if you have 10,000 users in your environment and each of the person has, again, 3 invites to other people, means you have 30,000. You can have that. You can look for that, where you get it. Yeah, that's a long list in an Excel sheet. That is possible, but not who is open it. For anonymous link, it makes no sense.
Okay, cloud only version, is the file actually located in the machine, or does it links to the online location? And can we keep one single file in all the 3 different files on demand version and collaborate properly, or are there any best practices?
So the first thing is cloud only means it's only in the cloud. You can have and upload a file just normal to the document library in your OneDrive for Business. Then it's not synced automatically, because if you do it with a browser, it's only in the cloud. If it's synced the complete library and you have your environment stand to files on demand, it says, okay, files on demand section means it's in the cloud only. That means if you click on it, then it will be downloaded. If you want to work with them, you do not have to be downloaded, because you also can say, okay, I will work with an online version of Word. Then you do not have to download it. And the other thing with 3 different, no, you have only one. That means it's in the cloud, it's locally available, or it's always available. Only one status. But with different files in one folder, that's possible. Each file has the possibility of these 3 icons we will have.
Okay, how does O365 integrate with Active Directory?
Office 365 is part of Azure. That means if you have a simple Office environment and the tenant admins with 10 people, and you to name in there and it says, okay, Jesse will is my first thing, and I take Jesse Chopra and all this stuff and give him a license, then 1. That means actually, if you are working with Office 365 machine and the admin center, it is in the as Active Directory, because it means you have more possibilities in the Azure Active Directory, but that's okay. You have both for the people, but for security and all this stuff, you have more possibilities with Azure, but that's a different license. Normal license in Office, it's the same, but it's it's the same environment, because they sync all this stuff, but you don't need that. Okay.
Okay, the next one is how to undo the existing synchronization on the device.
That's easy. Click on the cloud symbol, and I have to show that. Click on the cloud symbol. You have here 1, and click on settings there, and then you say, okay, I do not want this one. That's a business to business, and click on stop sync. That's all. Then you have to see, hey, it stopped and it syncs not anymore, but this is old synchronization, and that means you have to go inside your Windows and delete these files that are there.
So Hans, in the new synchronization, will those files be automatically deleted when you stop syncing?
With add to files, that will automatically deleted. Yeah.
Awesome.
The next question is about pricing.
I have no about Office 365. It's implemented. If you can't, and there are several things you can buy their stuff. You have to look for the things A1, A2, E1, E3, E5. Therefore, I have no chance to say what price is existing.
Yeah. Next one is
and it's implemented. OneDrive is part of Office 365.
Okay. The last question is interesting. How's the user life cycle managed? How, for example, when the user exits the organization, what happens to his data?
The data is still there. Means normally, as an administrator, I got it. Hey, Bikash will leave the company. Okay. So I want to disable at the last day his tenant. I do not delete it. I disable. And then the people at the administration can handle his stuff. Means if he has some stuff, he can handle that. The administration can handle that. But listen, for a company with 50,000 users, 50 people can come each month and 50 people are gone. And think about if you have 4 terabyte or something and data, who will do what they are doing? Because for me, OneDrive for Business is the business data, but it's like on my machine, that's Drive 3 and my documents and my desktop, but it's in the cloud. And therefore, normally you have no time in these bigger companies to handle this data. But it's not deleted. You can have although some policies, retention policies up to 10 years and so on. That's a possibility what we can do from different people, but not from all people. Therefore, the life cycle is a thing what we handle with the administration part.
Yeah, and I can say one more thing to that. If you have that situation, Microsoft gives you an out-of-the-box policy that will assign that OneDrive's content to the manager in the line automatically. So once he leaves the organization, his manager will get an email that, okay, now you are the custodian of the files in this, and within 90 days, we'll delete it. And before that 90 days arrive, 7 days before, they will send another email that you have last 7 days left to get the content out of that OneDrive. And the manager can take the decision on that. And again, if you don't want to use that policy, you can automate it as well using Power Automate or other automation stuff that you have available.
The problem is some managers have no idea what they can do. And therefore, that's a policy they have implemented at first, because in Japan, they have to be informed the manager about that. That's by law. Therefore, they do it, but it's not handled for many persons. That means in the environments, therefore, they say it also, you can handle it by admins, you can delegate this stuff. Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Hans. Thanks for the session. We'll stop the session here and we'll move to the next speaker. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Hans. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Appreciate your time. Bye.